Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I will be doing my full review of Sonic the Hedgehog 3. Now I recently posted my spoiler-free review, so if you haven't seen the movie yet, I do advise going and watch that first. And now, obviously spoilers ahead, after seeing the movie twice, I am ready for my full review. So, like I said last time, I do think that the first act of the movie was pretty good, as it does solidify how Team Sonic and the human characters interact with each other after the events of the second movie, and the racing was also very nice to see. So while this is happening, we see Shadow the Hedgehog in a water-filled capsule on none other than Prison Island, which is another callback to Sonic Adventure 2, which is the game that this movie is based on. So he has a quick flashback to him and Maria, who's a little girl that he was friends with, who was playing the beginning of Live and Learn on the guitar. This is a very nice foreshadowing for the end of the movie, and he then wakes up and destroys a glass barrier, and then proceeds to beat up an entire squad of gun soldiers, and punch one straight into a giant glass window, cracking it. He leaves the prison and begins wreaking havoc in Shibuya, Tokyo, after being surrounded by gun soldiers. I just have to say real quick that the upscale in visual quality and CGI in this movie compared to the previous two is actually insane and phenomenal. Every shot of Sonic and Shadow in this movie is just so good, and the budget increase was totally worth it. Anyways, this leads to Gun recruiting Team Sonic and having their first interaction with Shadow. I really liked the references in this segment. For example, before jumping out of the helicopter, Sonic says this, "Talk about low budget flights, no food or movies, we're out of here," which is a direct callback to Sonic Adventure 2, where he says, "Talk about low budget flights, no food or movies, I'm out of here." I immediately got that reference, and I'm sure every other Sonic fan in there did too. Now, a lot of people said that the song Escape from the City played in the scene, but after watching the movie twice, I still couldn't hear it. And I looked in the credits, and that song was listed there, so I don't know. I heard that it was only played for like 5 seconds or something. Anyways, this is where Shadow absolutely demolishes Team Sonic, as seen in both trailers. This really goes to show how powerful Shadow is and solidifies him as a genuine threat throughout the film. This also is followed up by a really nice action sequence of Sonic clashing with Shadow and chasing him while he's on a motorcycle, which is another reference to the Shadow the Hedgehog game from 2005, which I'm sure a lot of hardcore fans were really hyped for. And Sonic is eventually knocked out and rescued by Tails and Knuckles. They then meet up with Commander Walters, also known as Olive Garden guy from the first two movies. And they meet up at a restaurant called the Chow Garden, which is another callback to Sonic Adventure 2. Walters quickly briefs them a little bit about Shadow's backstory and how he was found inside a meteor in Oklahoma, I believe. So instead of being created by Gerald Robotnik, aka Dr. Eggman's grandfather in the games, he is just from somewhere in outer space, so this could be used to set up an origin story involving the Black Arms and Black Doom and a future Sonic movie project about Shadow, which I think would be really nice to see. After this quick flashback, a bunch of Eggman's drones from the first two movies appear and attack the restaurant. This causes Commander Walters to be flown back into the rubble by the explosion, where he pretty much dies. But before he does, he gives Sonic one of the two keys needed to activate the Eclipse Cannon, which is also something from the games, but it isn't an extension part of the Space Colony arc in the movie, probably for budgeting reasons. But anyways, Sonic and his friends leave the Chow Garden, and then some gun troops and someone named Director Rockwell, played by Kristen Ritter, show up. Rockwell finds a picture of Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles next to Commander Walters' body, leading her to believe that they betrayed him and Gun. Meanwhile, Team Sonic chases down someone on a motorcycle to the edge of a fishing dock, before it's revealed to be Agent Stone. He summons a giant crab mech from below the waters, showing Dr. Robotnik even larger than before. Eggman agrees to help Sonic on one condition, one of his quills. When this was shown in the first trailer, many people thought that this would lead to the creation of Metal Sonic, which could turn out to be true, especially due to the mid-credit scene, but we'll discuss all that later. Moving on, Stone shaves Eggman's head and they pull up to the abandoned gun base that Shadow was experimented on. Here, Shadow takes each of them out one by one, and they all wake up chained to a short metal pole while Dr. Robotnik appears in front of them with his grandfather, Gerald Robotnik. Now, at this point, many fans wondered how Gerald was alive, since he would be well over 100 years old by that point, and it's pretty much been confirmed that Gerald discovered immortality using Shadow's Quill and Chaos Energy. They just didn't have enough time to cram another scene about it into a pretty eventful movie already. Anyway, moving on, Shadow uses some weird magic marble thing powered by Chaos Energy to create a mini black hole, with Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles using Warp Ring to escape. They meet up with Tom and Maddie to begin to devise a plan on how to retrieve the second passkey from Gun headquarters, Mighty suggests that Sonic use the Master Emerald to go supersonic and just blitz through the base, but Sonic and Knuckles object and say that it's hidden and can't be used again, as it's supposedly too dangerous to ever be utilized a second time. They make a plan and arrive at London while the Robotniks, Shadow, and Agent Stone arrive as well. Tom and Maddie use hologram technology from Tails to look like Randall and Rachel from the second movie, and they sneak in and try to deactivate the shield, but it fails unfortunately, so Sonic has to quickly run inside. Once he makes it in, the Robotniks go to the laser room, which is blocking off the second and final passkey, and they put on special suits to protect them from the lasers. This then leads to one of the best scenes in the entire film, a dance scene. It was pretty funny, and I'm already seeing edits on YouTube of this with music from the games, like Studiopolis from Sonic Mania. Another joke made is that when Gerald sees Director Rockwell, he hears Eggman say outrageous, and he responds with, "I know, grandson, a woman in the military." Yeah, I thought that was pretty funny. Anyways, one thing leads to another, and Tom gets a passkey by disguising himself as Commander Walters. But before he can change it back to his regular self, Shadow appears in front of him, thinking him to be the real Walters, the one that sealed him away for 50 years. Shadow violently attacks Tom by punching him straight in the chest. Sonic runs to Tom right after, trying to wake him up, but to no avail. Shadow sees Sonic pain, which reminds him of Maria's death all those years ago. He teleports out, and Maddie takes Tom to the hospital, leaving Sonic and his friends to grieve. Sonic, enraged at Shadow, demands to know the location of the Master Emerald. Knuckles and him begin to beef about it before Knuckles eventually decides to reveal its location, not wanting to break his vow and fight Sonic. Sonic goes to a ring and sees Wade Whipple with the Master Emerald, using it as a hockey puck. Yeah. So all those jokes about Wade being the new guardian of the Emerald turned out to be true. A lot of people were a bit bummed about this, especially since this was a missed opportunity to introduce something like Angel Island, aka where the Master Emerald resides in the games, and also because of the secret location that was mentioned at the beginning of the movie. Anyways, Sonic uses it to go super, and this was also a bit confusing since the Chaos Emeralds went somewhere currently unknown at the end of the second movie, and Knuckles repaired the Master Emerald without the Chaos Emeralds. This led many fans, including myself, to believe that the Emeralds were now separate, but I guess that's not the case, and the Master Emerald just acts as some kind of shell for the Chaos Emeralds. Supersonic then flies up to the Eclipse Cannon, which is now in space, and he grabs Shadow, and they crash into this volcanic-looking place on Earth where Shadow somehow knocks a Chaos Emerald out of Sonic. They both jump at it while they're in the air, grabbing at the same time, and this is where the best part of the movie started. Supersonic looks behind him, seeing the one, the only Super Shadow. I was practically jumping out of my seat in excitement when he appeared. Everyone started clapping. It was just so hype. Sonic tries to land a hit on Shadow, only for it to be blocked. Right before Shadow drops one of the hardest lines in the film, "You were right about one thing. This ends now." This line and shot was used in the second trailer for the movie. However, they changed the color to make it look like Shadow it was like in his base form, which truly was a beautiful surprise once I saw it in the theater. And they then duked it out with Shadow throwing Sonic to a small volcanic rock filled with lava. His punch gets blocked by Sonic, however, who pulls a Man of Steel, and every punch sends him and Shadow to a different part of the planet, from a forest to a desert and so on. And then cuts to Eggman punching Gerald in the neck while he tries to, quote, thwart his evil plan. Gerald smacks Ivo, and then it cuts back to the Super Hedgehogs. Shadow teleports behind Sonic and punches him into the Parthenon in Greece, which is like a temple, destroying some of the pillars. Shadow starts talking smack and says, "Your anger was too much. What kind of hero abandons his friends and family to pursue revenge?" And this riles Sonic up, who threatens him about talking about his family. Shadow then makes the mistake of saying, "And here I thought you cared about them, especially the one, what's his name? Tom." This sends Sonic in an even bigger fit of rage, and he lands a punch on Shadow so hard it sends him flying all the way to the moon, even knocking him out of his super form. Sonic grabs him by his chest and is about to land the final blow when he remembers what Tom said to him in the start of the film. "You didn't let your pain change who you are in here." Sonic lets go of Shadow and sits down next to him, changing back into his base form. This left Shadow confused. Sonic states that there are no winners with revenge. This reminds Shadow of the time when he and Maria looked at the stars. He says that the last time he sat beneath the stars was with her, with this obviously referring to Maria, and he had felt the pain for so long that it's all he knew. Sonic reveals what happened to him and when he lost Long Claw all the way back in the first movie, which is a nice way to tie all the movies together with the lore. Shadow asks Sonic if his pain eventually went away, with him responding that no, it never left. There's something even more powerful than pain, the love that they felt for each other. He tells Shadow that that's what he needs to hold on to. Despite Maria being gone, her love would always remain. This makes Shadow remember one of Maria's quotes from before: "A light shines even though the star is gone." Now, before we move to the final battle, I just want to say the music and shots here were so epic and heartfelt. It even gave me goosebumps in the theater. They see the Eclipse cannon above the planet, and Sonic helps Shadow up. Sonic saying that it's the right choice is never easy, and that when you really screw up, you can't always fix it on your own. And then you hear the long-awaited song begin to play in the background, and Sonic and Shadow dab each other up and go super. Live and Learn starts playing as they fly towards the cannon. It then cuts to one of, if not the funniest and the most out-of-pocket scenes in this entire movie. Gerald spanking Eggman with his giant nano hand. This made the entire theater, including me and my friends, audibly laugh out loud. Moving on. Eggman and Gerald fight each other using nano weapons, with Gerald seemingly throws Eggman into space. Gerald sees that Shadow changed sides and team up with Sonic, so he launches a horde of gun robots that look similar to the gun robots from SA2 and Sonic X Shadow Generations. Great game, by the way. I played that before. Sonic and Shadow begin destroying each robot as an epic instrumental version of Live and Learn plays. They finish it off by hitting the Sonic Adventure 2 post while in their super forms. Knuckles and Tails appear through a ring portal with Eggman, who uses one of Supersonic's skulls to electrocute Gerald and send him flying into all of the chaos energy that powered the cannon, killing him. And then cuts back to Sonic leading a bunch of robots to Shadow, who uses Chaos Spear, another nod to the video game, so where Shadow uses Chaos Spear as a form of attack. After this, they fly over to the spaceship, and right as the laser fires, Sonic and Shadow stop it using their super forms. They struggle to keep it from hitting the Earth, so Sonic, They struggle to keep it from hitting Earth, so Eggman, Knuckles, and Tails drag the laser away. Sonic eventually passes out due to overexertion of his power, and he begins falling to the planet's surface. The laser barely misses Earth and cuts a giant chunk of the moon, which is yet another reference to Sonic Adventure 2, where Eggman blows up a chunk of moon as a demonstration of the cannon's power. Knuckles and Tails see Sonic falling, so Knuckles throws Tails toward him using his last warp ring. Tails dives towards Sonic, but he eventually passes out. Robotnik and Shadow realize the cannon is going to self-destruct and send a lot of radiation towards Earth, so Shadow takes off his inhibitor rings, which is a nice reference to the games, where he gets more powerful if he takes them off. Eggman stabilizes the core of the cannon, and he makes one final announcement to the world. He tells Agent Stone that he was his only friend, and this moment was so heartfelt, and it was a great, amazing send-off to Eggman's character arc in the 3 movies. He ends off the message with the reference to the first movie that started it all by doing a little robot movement and saying, "Thanks for nothing." The cannon then explodes, supposedly killing both Eggman and Shadow. Knuckles saves both Tails and Sonic as they land in a cornfield. They reconcile and go home, where they have a nice reunion with Tom and Maddie. The movie ends with the 3 having one final race as they jump into the sunset. Then we all clapped because the movie was a cinematic masterpiece, obviously. But of course, we can't end off the video without talking about the mid and post-credit scenes. After the song Jelly Roll Run It ends, Sonic runs up to a sign, realizing that he overshot the finish line as he was now in New York State Park. As he's trying to figure out how to get back, a familiar figure appears and points a gun arm at Sonic. Turns out to be Metal Sonic. Me and all my friends, as well as some other kids behind us, started cheering when he appeared, as he was a very long-awaited character. Sonic runs behind Metal before he can shoot him and punches him away, and begins some classic banter. Suddenly, a whole army of Metal Sonic copies appear and surround Sonic, but just as they're about to jump him, a pink hammer flies through each, destroying all of them. A hooded figure appears and pulls her hood down, revealing to be none other than Amy Rose, who got the theater all out of their seats. And before I end the video, though, there's one more post-credit scene. The camera zoomed in on a small pit of ash showing one of Shadow's inhibitor rings, and before Shadow's shoes step into frame with all the first part of Live and Learn playing, yep, the ultimate life form lives on. Anyways, I might make a separate video on this to further explain and theorize, but that's all I hope for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment down below what you'd like to see next, and I will see you guys next time. Goodbye.